The NBA Finals have returned to New York City for the first time in 27 years. The Knicks were thinking sweep, and the Spurs were in desperation mode after losing games 1 and 2 at home. In front of a raucous crowd, many celebs, and even the president, Madison Square Garden was ready. But with their season on the line, the Spurs put an offensive clinic to make this a series, and for the first time, put some pressure on the Knicks. We've begun to see a common theme in these finals. The Spurs come out strong in the first quarter, taking a double-digit lead into the second. Then the Knicks storm back with their second unit to regain the lead heading into halftime. In the third quarter, San Antonio makes a run to get back into the game, and the Knicks make one last push to win the game in the fourth quarter. This time the Spurs hit back in the third quarter and never lost the lead. While they didn't blow the game open, between excellent defensive plays by Victor Wembanyama or some clutch shooting from Wemby Castle and De'Aaron Fox, the Spurs are on the board and this is officially a series. From the opening tip, there was an emphasis on physicality. Both the Spurs and Knicks got a little bit chippy on a few instances. Early on, Victor Wembanyama shoved Jalen Brunson to the ground, and then you saw Luke Cornett and Josh Hart get into it in a minor dust-up, and before halftime, Castle laid into Brunson while going for an offensive rebound. I thought we would see a flagrant foul between any one of those instances, but instead, there were a lot of favorable calls that did go the Spurs' way, particularly in the second half, and surprisingly, the only flagrant foul that was called was actually on Jalen Brunson on a closeout where he didn't allow Julian Champagnie enough space to land safely. Weirdly though, the calls got very tight in the fourth quarter and the Knicks were in the penalty very early. In fact, they played the final 8 minutes of game 3 in the penalty, meaning that any foul would give the Spurs free throws. And the Spurs took advantage of this. They had 24 free throws in the second half compared to just 8 for the Knicks. And what I've noticed, at least this postseason, is that the team who plays with more force, especially initiating the physicality, usually sets the tone for a given game and also can sometimes get a favorable whistle. We've seen this before in the Western Conference Finals between San Antonio and Oklahoma City, and now we're seeing it in the NBA Finals. The Spurs' strong start in the first quarter can be attributed to establishing Victor Wembanyama down low. He had 2 dunks within the first 3 minutes and began the game going 4 for 4 with all 9 points coming from inside the paint or at least the free throw line. Castle also ramped up his scoring. He was attacking early, going 3 for 3 from the start and finishing the first half on 7 of 8 shooting, racking up 18 points, including a nice and one. What I really like about Castle's game is that he's really good on that deceleration step, kind of what you see with Luka Doncic, but it's a little bit more of a physical brand of basketball with Wemby Castle. Now, between Wemby and Castle, they became the youngest duo to score at least 20 points in a finals game, as they combined for 55 points in Game 3. Castle did cool off in the second half, but hit a huge three-pointer to stretch the lead up to 7 when the Knicks were making one last push, and he sunk 2 clutch free throws to clinch the win. This was Victor Wembanyama's best game since probably Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. He's been spectacular, but it's no secret that the start of the finals, he's been a little bit too much on the perimeter, but establishing him down low early was really good. I liked his aggressive attacking style from opening tip. He got inside for several dunks and was close to the rim all night long. And there were even times he did have open three-pointers, but he elected to take it to the basket rather than settling for jump shots. And a lot of that was simply Wemby Castle running the pick and roll to precision, leading to some hard dives to the basket and simple alley-oops where the defender was stuck in no man's land trying to decide to guard the ball or protect the rim. Wemby only took 1 shot from mid-range and just 4 attempts from beyond the arc, knocking down 2 of them. Due to this, Wemby finished with 32 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks in Game 3. If the Spurs ended up losing Game 3, De'Aaron Fox might have been the one to blame. He shot just 4 of 14, 0 of 5 from 3, and had a late turnover just when the Knicks were regaining some momentum. But he did salvage his poor performance by coming up with a massive step-back midi to give San Antonio a 5-point lead with under 15 seconds left. Dylan Harper didn't shoot great, but he did make some timely shots, including a huge 3 that gave the Spurs the lead after Jordan Clarkson momentarily tied the game late in the third quarter. The physicality in Game 3 certainly wore down Jalen Brunson as he took several hard fouls and was also in foul trouble himself, even though he had his best statistical game of the series, and the Knicks went back to their Brunson ISO ball. While Landry Shamet cooled off, Jordan Clarkson did a solid job coming off the bench, being an extra ball handler in relief of Jalen Brunson, but also scored 10 huge points, including a couple of big threes. Josh Hart finally got involved offensively, and he was the guy that ignited that big second quarter run as New York outscored the Spurs by 18 points in that second quarter. Josh Hart finished Game 3 with 16 points, including 4 3-pointers, and a lot of that was a result of great ball movement, but also the Spurs just leaving him alone on the perimeter, and that was a risk that they were certainly willing to take, and for the most part, Josh Hart did make them pay for it, but for whatever reason, the Knicks ended up getting away from that great ball movement in the second half, and went back to being a little bit more Brunson-centric on offense. Mikal Bridges just simply had no rhythm in this game. He was marred by foul trouble, and he couldn't capitalize off his magnificent Game 2 performance, going 1 of 5 and finishing with just 2 points in Game 3. OG Anunoby probably was the best Knick to step onto the court. 28 points on really efficient shooting, going 9 of 13 from the field and made 3 from beyond the arc, and also was a menace defensively, coming up with 2 big blocks. The big disappointment of this game was probably Karl Anthony Towns, as he didn't really make much of an impact in Game 3 compared to his hot start in Games 1 and 2. There was really not a lot of activity from Cat. He took this 10 shots and didn't get enough touches where he was driving to the rim or could take Wemby one-on-one. And the Knicks really have to get back to that in Game 4 and make Karl Anthony Towns a point of emphasis in order to take Game 4. Now, Game 4 is probably going to be the most pivotal game of this series. If the Knicks win, they will be just one win away from the title. And if the Spurs win, that means all momentum generated early from the Knicks has been nullified, and that's all going back to the Spurs as the series shifts to San Antonio for Game 5. I would like to see the Knicks really focus on Karl Anthony Towns and get him downhill like we saw in Games 1 and 2, but they also have to find a way to get him in actions where he is being that point center. That was when the Knicks offense was operating at its peak, and I think if they can do that and get the ball to start moving around, the Knicks might have an opportunity to take a stranglehold of this series.